How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See-Through Panel showing off Chris Mould's War of the Worlds, published by a publisher I wasn't aware of. Faber, looks like. UK publisher. Before I get started, I'm not going to be spoiling anything. I'm just going to be flipping through it, talking about what I did like, what I didn't like. But honestly, this is going to be one of my shorter reviews, considering the nature of the book, which I will talk about. And also, I'm still in the temporary setup. Hopefully this will be the last video in this setup, so the lighting's all weird and the shadows are cast horribly, and we'll get through it. But just a light spoiler warning for anyone that is interested. Although this story is like told in a million different ways in a million different forms, so you probably are already aware of the story. So what we have here is a really beautiful book that is half prose, half sequential storytelling, with them being completely separated so that the art is always wordless and the prose is entirely prose. I mean, there's some like dressing with the art that I'll show you, but there's no what's the terminology for it? There's no just your average comic, I guess. I can't think of a word for it. There's some of this, with art mixed in a little bit in the prose, but there's no actual typical comic storytelling. It's very separated. And what this is a retelling by Chris Mould of War of the Worlds from the perspective of an artist who is trying to reunite with his significant other in some capacity. It's not super well explained, their relationship, but it doesn't really matter. And other than that, it's pretty much, I love this page. It's pretty much just War of the Worlds with an interesting little spin on it. Different prose, a little bit of a different tone. And the main character being different kind of gives it a different message, I would say. But other than that, I mean, like, what I'm really here for is the art. It's really scratchy, really beautiful, often black and white, but when he does throw in color, like here, you see it has a big impact. Really well done sense of scale. The designs for the tripods are awesome. See if we can get a close-up here. I'm sure we can here in a moment. So really, really love the art. The story, I would say, is good. I'm familiar with War of the Worlds, but I'm not like super familiar with it. I don't know how much of the prose is super similar. I know it's not directly lifted. It's not like a retelling in that way or an adaptation in that way, but I'm not sure in terms of style that the prose aligns in any way. I think it's kind of an original take. I could be totally wrong. I'm mostly here for this. Beautiful design, by the way, with the gears all around and the sides. Really, really nicely done book. Small. I have the Get Fury paperback here, so it is a fair bit smaller. I wonder if I can... There we go. A fair bit smaller than a trade paperback, but it's really nice size. You don't really need a huge book, especially when you are getting art. It's not tiny little panels with like really cramped details. It's just full spreads and splashes. But one thing, I will show a page I love. It's towards the end. One thing, my only real problem with the book, and I didn't love or hate it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it though. But my only problem is sometimes, and this seems to be a purposeful choice, sometimes the art would show you what happened, and then the prose would retell it, and then move forward. And then the art would happen again, and the prose would retell it, and we'd rinse and repeat. And at some point, we started flipping that. So now we have the prose telling the first showing of the scene, and then the art retelling the prose. And then we kind of go back and forth between that. Somewhere towards the end, it does like a hard switch twice in a row, and that's when I noticed it. So I didn't even really notice it till probably 60 pages in. But that's my only problem, is like a little bit of confusion with that, but not really, because no matter how you're digesting the story, you are still getting the story. So it's not this scene exactly, but for example, if I were to see, he's hiding inside of the remnants of a home, I know that. And then if I read it again, like, it's not a problem. It doesn't cause any like storytelling issues. It's just a little unnecessary to do both, I think. Keep it in one order. That's the most arbitrary criticism I've ever made for a book. But I really, really enjoyed it. I think the style is just beautiful. Very, very detailed while being super scratchy, which I enjoy. Close up on some shading. Cross hatching on the legs, nice. I love the use of color. I think I'm starting to get into books that kind of splash black and white and then color together, like specifically In by Will McPhail is the book that kind of opened my eyes to it, because it's just so much more, it's much more impactful when a book goes from black to white into color rather than always being color or always being black and white. But in a book like this, where that color choice seems to be arbitrary by Chris Mould himself, it doesn't add anything necessarily, but it still is like a cool visual thing that you get to play with and pick apart, which is interesting, just the way the art differs from scene to scene. So yeah, I've just been kind of rambling. I didn't know what I was going to talk about when I started the video, but I sure did yap for a while. So let me know if you've read this. I don't know if a lot of people have. I've heard almost nothing about it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. If you're a fan of War of the Worlds, I would recommend it. If you're a fan of good art and just like a quick read, I would recommend it as well. I assume it's somewhere between $15 and $20. I didn't actually say at the start because it doesn't say here. But and I'm not good with currency swapping here. I have no idea what this is. Like how many dollars is that? Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully next time I'll be in a better setup, the old setup, and I'll have hopefully this for you, but we'll see where it goes. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace.